See it?
Okay, I see the recording button. Okay,
Okay.
we're recording. All right, so how do you want to begin this?
Uh, oh, that's a good point. We should mention seeing the preview.
Thing what?
Remember when we saw the preview for this and that kind of sparked the.
Okay. Um, I mean, like I can. One of us can write we can introduce it now, or we can write the intro later.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, since you're the voice of reason, I guess, and I'm the voice of righteous indignation, why don't you start?
All right. So here we have issue 57 of Green Lantern. And do you want to talk about the cover first, or do you want to talk about the? Do you want to talk about the interior or the cover first?
I think we have to talk about both.
All right.
Or, in my mind, what the reason why we saw the preview for this and we were all titillated, right? Like,
Right.
literally, figuratively, um, because it just seemed like such a objectionable cover, but I wasn't ready to dismiss it just on the basis of that. But when we came to the actual issue, I was so disappointed by what was inside because the cover
Right.
just felt like unnecessary, an unnecessary sexy selling point.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's when it comes to covers, they never are selling you. It's to titillate you.
Uh,
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. This was a misleading cover for one.
right.
But it's like supposed to titillate you. For instance, this week's um brightest day had Dead Man on the cover. He's nowhere in the issue.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's enticing in a different way, and I think the arc ultimately is going to come back to him. Whereas this, what I I feel like the issue was a failure because while the cover isn't representative of what's inside, it commits the same kind of offense as the cover, which is that Star Sapphire is this object of male fantasy, and that's it.
Um, the thing is, we don't have enough information to make that assumption yet. Like, we do have this whole female tribe of light warriors,
Sure.
but like we've only just met the predator. Like we've heard the whispers of predator coming towards us,
Right.
with his infrared glaringness. But we've this is the first time we've seen him, and Carol. I mean, in the end, Carol makes the statement that it's not a bad creature. It's just the person that perverts love.
Right. And even that makes sense because it's supposed to be this entity, right? Like Ion or
To be the purest form of it.
yeah, and those seem to be pretty malevolent, right? Like Parallax or something. But my problem is was really came down to the resolution because this is the first issue where we're really seeing Carol psychologically or getting any kind of input into that in a long time, and she ends up resolving the conflict by offering herself, and it just kind of matched what was on the cover, which is she just offers herself up to a man, and that is the resolution. And to me, that didn't seem. I didn't even mind so much the predator because it is this like unbridled form of love, and it takes a malevolent form. There's a whole domination, dominating power play kind of subtext there too. That's fine, and I think that that's a part of love sometimes. But what she does is ultimately make herself an object, and particularly for this kind of pervy dude. Um, and to me, that didn't have anything to say about love whatsoever. And it seemed like a corruption of love. And then she kind of claims that it is this version of love somehow. That didn't seem to make any sense to me.
Well, that's the whole point of the issue is that this guy is perverting what love means, and he wants somebody so bad, and he believes that it's love that it calls to the predator.
Right, but then she purges the predator or captures him in her ring by, kissing this guy, which,
Well, that's because that's what he believes that he like his form of love is completely superficial. It's his idea is all on the outside, and that if he can have somebody objectively, um then he has love,
That's
and that's
fine,
what you're
and
supposed to get from.
well, that's where the predator part makes sense. But then Carol makes these grand pronouncements about love, and then just ends up kissing him in this act that's supposed to, if she's the supposed to be the benevolent side of love, I just didn't see how that moment represented it. She kisses the guy, offers herself as an object to this obsessive maniac, and that's supposed to be the positive side of the Star Sapphire force. I just
Well,
didn't see how that didn't seem to make sense to me. It just seemed like a kind of indulgence.
it's that's but she was trying to. That was the whole point. Is she was trying to indulge the guy
What,
because
so
when
she
you
does have to offer herself up as an object then. It seems like they're sending mixed signals. Like we have the Predator Force, which is this kind of tainted version, but then she's equally corrupted too. It just seemed like there are very kind of vague lines drawn between the two, and it wasn't as clear as
well, I mean, it's what it's explaining is that love is very ill defined. Like there's many ways to interpret love,
they're
and
just okay.
that is one of the that's the problem with the predator is that if it goes to somebody who wants love, like who wants love so badly, um, that it calls out to the predator and it goes after that object of desire.
To me, this seemed just like a failure of what Johns does so well, though, which is makes balance. You have the light and dark sides of every kind of force: will, um, hate, fear, and this just lacked that kind of balance to me because it was so ill defined. And I'm not expecting him to encapsulate all of love in one issue of Green Lantern. That's silly. But there seemed to be a very foggy dividing line, and she still seemed to be an object throughout. And what's particularly objectionable about the cover is it's just like at least the interior gets at this kind of power play dynamic. The cover is just like pure titillation, and
But
like
that's what every cover is supposed to be
why?
to sell the book. I mean, there's like a business, and it is sexualization
But
of
that's
like what
just
they want.
admitting failure, and that's so uninspired. Why isn't considering what we come to? Why isn't she holding him down? And also, why not put him in a scantily clad outfit?
Hal or the guy
Oh, Predator.
Predator.
If he's supposed to be the like ultimate Star Sapphire, wasn't he just like running around naked?
He's not going, but he's the
Embody.
pursuer.
You're right, but he's like the embodiment of that force, right? So by logic, he should be like totally nude with his like thing
That's why it's called that's why it's called the predator because that
because
is
he's
the
fully
dominant.
closed
It's
and
what's
women
going
are naked.
after. It's going after. It's playing the dominant role. It's playing the hunter.
I know, but still, if it's supposed to be like the full embodiment of it, and if Carol and all these other Star Sapphires are running around with their pasties, why isn't he like nude except for, a banana hammock?
Hmm.
It could be a chrome banana hammock. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, it's I'm curious to see like because Carol is going to be the queen now
Uh,
of the Star Sapphires. Like the whole there, it's also what the Sapphires have been and what the Zamorons wanted them to be is all based on this long founded tradition. Like this very like they've done the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm curious to see if somehow Carol tries to change it, like to be less sexualized.
I guess. I mean, I wasn't even thinking along those lines just because I was kind of let down. I mean, there's a somewhat sophisticated build up. She's talking about her place and all these climactic events, and then she just ends up objectifying herself. And
Well, that's because that was she
that
did
was
what
what
she
he
had to do.
needed, right? That was what the guy needed to
Which
like
but
get rid of the
it's
predator, but that just doesn't she's not guiding him towards any kind of realization about love. She's just saying like
she did what she did. She did throughout the whole.
yeah,
She was
love
talking
is
about it.
terrifying and love is, unbridled and love is tyrannical, right? But that's just not in that case there's a very clear distinction between say Ion and um and Kyle Rayner, right? There's like very little distinction here.
But once again that's because the whole point of this is that love is subjective. Like what love means to me and what love means to you is a completely different thing.
Then why doesn't she have a different opinion about love? And she just is willing to indulge this asshole.
Because it's the only way to get the predator away from him.
That seems
Like,
like a
see,
cheap
okay,
plot point that's facilitating.
this is the whole point. Okay, so once again, the whole point of the predator is he goes
I
into being
understand the
that
point of
one
the
love.
predator. I understand that, but that doesn't explain why she acts the way she does and how that is supposed to be. Like Green Lantern is always a book about the light side, at least temporarily overcoming the darker urges.